Welcome back, everyone, for today's video. Today I'm going to be going over another rated game of the week held here at Just Zone between myself and Dhruva Movva. Now, Dhruva Movva is another kid that I've faced before. He's in, I think, 6th grade, I believe, and he's rapidly gaining rating, already crossing the threshold of 1700 when not too long ago he was a couple hundred points lower than that. And, yeah, I played him before, I think one time in a rapid tournament and another time when he was younger, when he was like 12 or 1300, and I've had positive outcomes. I won. So I'm hoping this trend continues, but then again, he's stronger, so I can't always assume that I'm going to win, even though I had a past winning record. And let me just preface this video by saying that I got absolutely creamed in the opening. And it was a miracle of God that I didn't lose the game. Did I win the game or did I draw? You're going to have to find out. But he had such a big advantage, and I was so lucky to not lose the game. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the action. So I begin the game with e4 as always, and Dhruva replies with c5, the Sicilian defense. After knight f3, knight c6, d4, c takes on d4, and knight takes on d4, Dhruva plays g6, going into the dragon variation, where the point is to develop the bishop to g7 and get the bishop on the nice long diagonal. And usually I play knight c3. I could also go for a Maraxi bind setup with c4. All of these are playable, but I instead go with a little bit of a sideline, not as popular. I go with the move bishop to c4, perfectly reasonable, eyeing at the f7 pawn, but other moves are more common. Bishop g7 anyway, and I reply with c3 to solidify the knight in the center. Dhruva plays the move knight f6, and you're seeing the arrows on the screen. I thought knight f6 was a little bit of a mistake. I'm not too well versed on this. It's because after knight takes c6 and b takes c6, I thought I could just push the knight back already with e5 and gain some center space and force the knight backward, either to, like, I was thinking maybe g8 or h5. I didn't really think he would go knight d5 here because, you know, he probably assumed he'd lose a pawn here. But then again, okay, the engine suggests this move bishop to a6, and white's king is a long way from castling, and black has excellent compensation for the sacrificed pawn. But I didn't think Dhruva would go into this. Another weird move is to go knight g4 and say, hey, look, you're losing your knight, but then you get the move d5 and you get your piece back. So that was also playable. But yeah, then Dhruva played the move knight e4, and I see a tactic here. Bishop takes f7 check, king takes, and then playing the move queen f3, basically getting the piece back with interest because black would lose castling rights. But then black can, if they want, play the move knight f6, and after takes and takes, black actually has a pleasant position because they're going to castle by hand. So let's say I castle manually. I mean, not manually, castle like usual. Black is just going to bring the rook to the center, tuck the king on g8, and it will look like black had just castled normally as well. So, I was thinking about that. But I thought this approach was better, just playing queen f3 first to get a fork on checkmate and the knight. And Dhruva here looked a little bit stressed. He thought he had blundered out of the opening, and I personally thought that I had a better position, but I guess not. And he played the move d5. A better move here would have been f5 to support the knight that way. And let's say you en passant, for instance, after knight takes. Black's ready to play d5 at some point and block the bishop from controlling the light squares, and then black would castle on their own. So that was a slightly better approach. And here, like, if let's say queen f3, f5, if you try to go aggro with like g4, try to get super aggressive to try to undermine the pawn, this approach just does not work because black can just pick up this pawn. And if you try to capture this pawn, black can just play the move d5, solidify the knight the other way, and just have a crushing opening position. So being aggro wasn't the way to go either. So yeah, but he didn't play f5, he played d5, and I was expecting this after en passant. Knight takes, I thought I was just collecting a free pawn on c6, forcing bishop to d7 to defend the rook, And then I play the move queen to d5, simultaneously defending my bishop and eyeing at the f7 square. Here, Dhruva played the move bishop to e6, which is what I was expecting. And I have two choices, either to go back to c6, in which we would get a repetition of the position, or what I played, which is apparently a mistake, bishop to b5 check. And I thought I was doing quite well here, because after king f8, black has lost castling rights, and I'm still up a pawn, right? But the engine evaluates this as being much better for black, because my king is still in the center, and very soon black's pieces are going to be very menacing toward my uncastled king. So after king f8, I play queen to d3 to keep defending my bishop, and black played the move queen to b6 here, adding another attacker on the bishop. Now looking back, I don't know why I didn't play knight a3. It looks like a very natural move to develop another piece and defend the bishop, and if needed, play a move like bishop to c4, and where it will be defended by the knight as well. So I don't really know why I didn't play knight a3 in this position. It looks like a very natural move. I instead played this move queen f3, attacking the rook on a8, so my bishop isn't hanging. Well, it is hanging, but it would cost him a rook. So after queen f3, I had 51 minutes, and Dhruva had 54 minutes. After rook c8, I play bishop d3, and I'm preparing to castle next turn. But Dhruva is a bit annoying here. He plays the move knight to c4, and I'm like, okay, that knight is very annoying there. He's attacking my b2 pawn. I just go ahead and trade it. And after bishop takes, there is a drawback behind this move. While the knight on c4 is removed, black's bishop is cutting my king off from castling, so I can't castle right now, which is going to be proved to be very annoying in the near future, as you guys are going to see. So here I play the move queen to e3, and the reason I did that, let me just go back here. I was wanting to go knight d2 to try to hit the bishop, but then I saw after, like, last second, I was about to play it, but then I realized Dhruva has this tactic, bishop takes a2, and I can't take the bishop because that would run into queen e6 check with the fork on the king and the rook on a2. So Dhruva would just basically be winning a pawn here, and I didn't want him to get his pawn back. I was kind of greedy, materialistic. But the engine here just says, hey, look, castle, the bishop's off the diagonal, and you're just fine. You don't have to hold on to that pawn for dear life. Black's going to move the bishop, and you have an isolated a-pawn. Life is good, and you have a slightly better position. But I kind of wanted to cling on to my extra pawn here. So I played the move queen e3. That way, the e-file was closed, and let's say the queen moves somewhere random, right? My idea was to go knight to d2 now, and actually, I'll move the queen, like, here, just to show the point. I would have played knight to d2 now, and obviously the tactic doesn't work here because queen e6 is not check, because the queen is in the way. So that was my idea behind queen e3, and also to trade queens because I'm up, so that the idea was twofold. But here Dhruva plays the move queen b7, and he's already starting to poke and prod in my position. And I was finding this very uncomfortable. He's attacking my g2 pawn. The bishop is preventing me from castling, and I can already starting to feel kind of panicked here, despite being up a pawn. Here the engine recommends playing f3 to defend the pawn that way. I was considering that, but then I was worried that the rook would come over to c6, threaten to pin me on e6, and the best move here to try to survive is king f2, and you yourself can't castle either, and black's going to play rook e6 anyway, and you're going to be in a lot of trouble. In fact, yeah, it's just -1 here, but only if you find this weird move rook to d1, because if rook takes queen, this is obviously checkmate. This would be a very funny way to end the game. If this were my position over the war, I'd probably move my queen or something, and I wouldn't look at rook d1. But I was hoping to castle. I wasn't wanting to give up on it, so I played the move queen to g3, and that is another mistake. As you guys can see, that black bar is growing, and it's showing no sign of stopping. I'm already basically dead lost right out of the opening because my king is stranded in the center, and black's bishop on c4 is incredibly annoying. And Dhruva here slams his queen into e4, giving check. I've tried to block with the bishop, and after queen to c2, I'm just toast here, basically, because, number one, he's threatening checkmate on e2, and I only have a couple of ways to deal with that. Either putting something on d2 or defending with the queen. And number two, he's just hitting the b2 pawn, and I have obviously absolutely no way of defending the b2 pawn. So I try to move queen to g4 to attack the rook. And after he played f5 to hit my queen, I moved my queen to d1. And guys, let's just stare at this position for a second. This is just depressing. Virtually all my pieces are on the back row, except the bishop. I'm up a pawn, but look at my position. Black's pieces are incredibly invasive. My b2 pawn is about to fall. The bishop is about to eat the c3 pawn. And then black can, like, move the king to f7, bring the rook to d8. I mean, this is just terrible. This is just, like, you guys probably won't believe how I didn't lose this game. Like, this is just lights out, pretty much. Yeah, so Dhruva played queen takes b2 here. And, yeah, at queen f3, when I played queen f3, queen f3, queen d1. I had 42 minutes and he had 45 minutes. So Dhruva also had a time advantage. So this is not going in my favor at all. So queen takes b2. I go ahead and play the move knight to d2. He plays bishop takes c3. And yeah, this is just so lost, as you can tell by the eval bar. And I play rook c1, then Dhruva plays bishop takes d2 check, and I was blown away why he decided to trade his incredibly strong bishop for my passive knight that's pinned on d2. Like, when I saw him trade on d2, I was so relieved because he let me get back in the game significantly. Like, I was totally just anticipating king f7, swinging the other rook to d8, adding another layer of pressure on the d2 knight, and I don't even know what I was going to play here. I might have just straight up resigned in a few moves. I'm not even joking. So when he played bishop takes d2 here, I was, like, squinting to see if I saw that right, because that bishop was so strong, and he had no reason to give it up. And after queen takes d2, he even trades queens here, and my king, which was not safe a few moves ago, is actually, I mean, I'm worse, but, like, I'm not getting mated, so it's good progress. He played king f7, and after the move a4, I had 35 minutes, and after he played the move rook on h to d8, he had 44 minutes. And I play bishop e3 here to attack the a7 pawn, and yeah, I'm still worse, down a pawn, but look at the situation. It's not nearly as dire as it was a few moves ago. So after bishop e3, he plays the move rook to d6 to try to go rook e6, and here I make another mistake. I play the move h4 to try to activate the rook via the h-file. And then here I'm having more retrospect. I don't really know why I didn't go f3 to try to play king f2. Because of, like, rook e6, I'll just go king f2 and I'm fine. So yeah, this is the second moment where I'm looking at the position and I would have played a different move than what I did over the board. So that's kind of interesting. I play h4. He plays rook e6, and his idea obviously is to pin my bishop with f4. And here I play the move g3. And here he plays a move that I don't understand. He just put his rook on e6, so why would you move that same rook to c6? Like, that's just wasting time. And what is the rook even doing there? Wouldn't it have been more annoying to put my rook on, to have him put his rook in line with my king? So yeah, I didn't really understand this move. And I play h5 to try to open my rook on the h-file. And he plays the move bishop to d5 here. And one funny move I was considering is the delayed castle on move 32. Yeah, this castling is still valid in this position. I haven't moved either of my rooks, and there are no pieces. The bishop is no longer on c4, controlling the f1 square. But yeah, you don't normally castle on move 31, am I right? So, and also castling would sufficiently defend my rook on c1. So that was a move that I was looking at. But then I just didn't want him to take my second pawn on h5, and he would be up 2 pawns in this endgame. So I just accept the fact that I'm not going to castle this game, and I instead play the move h takes g6 check, h takes g6, and then I go ahead and play rook h7. And I could have played rook c6 first, but I played rook h7. He goes king f6, and I go ahead and trade rooks. And now it's more of a draw because there's no attack. A pair of rooks have been traded, and it's opposite colored bishops. So this is going to be a draw most likely. I play bishop a7. He plays bishop a4. I go check. He goes e5. I go bishop to e3, rook to e8, and I play the move rook h7, and I have 27 minutes on the clock. And Dhruva plays the move bishop to b5, and he has 39 minutes on the clock. I go ahead and play the move rook b7, bishop c6, and the next several moves aren't going to require much explanation because we're not really trying to make any progress here. I'm making some very easy threats to c, and he's just stopping them, and the pawns are all on the same side of the board. So this should likely be a draw, right? So rook b6, rook e6, he unpins himself. King d2, I get my king out. G5, king c3, f4, and we get another pawn trade. Bishop d2, king f5, and I play the move rook to b8. I somehow find a way to give black an advantage again. Okay, but in my defense, I kind of like rook b8 because I can't bring my king closer to the center because that would hang this check, and I would lose my rook. And I knew the king was going to try to go to like g4 and f3. So after rook b8 and okay, he went to e4, but I was going to try to, maybe put the rook on the back rank. So if he were to go here, I would maybe go rook h8. If king f3, I would defend like this. That was my idea. But he went king e4 here. And yeah, after rook b8, I had 24 minutes. I don't know if I said that yet. And after king e4, he had 37 minutes. So after bishop e1, I preemptively defend my pawn. And king f3, yeah, black has a slight edge, -1, but it's not really easy how to win as black because, again, the pawns are on the same side of the board. Sure, his king is more active than mine, but the bishops are opposite colors, so this should more likely be a draw. I go rook b2 to over-defend my pawn. He goes rook d6. I go rook d2, and this was a mistake because after rook h6, which he didn't play, he's going to attack my bishop on e1 from h1, and I'm going to be in some trouble here because that bishop is defending my f-pawn, and my bishop basically can't move, so it's almost going to be like trapping my bishop. So he actually traded here, which was a relief. And after king takes, now this is just a dead draw. The reason is because, again, opposite colored bishops. There's no sort of counterplay. And, okay, king takes d2, bishop b5, king d1, and king e4. I offer him a draw here. I have 20 minutes and he has 34 minutes. But he just said to play a little bit more. And while I generally understood that, there really isn't anything to play for. But we keep meandering through the position. Bishop c3, f3, king e1, king d5, king d2, king e4, sorry, king e3. And right at this moment, I knew that there was no way there was no way that I could lose this unless I did something stupid like hang my bishop. The reason is because I have a complete dark square blockade on the pawns, and I could just shuffle my bishop wherever it wants, keep the king planted on e3, and there's no way for black to make any progress. And that's exactly what happened. Just keep moving my bishop to random squares. And Dhruva tries to make some sort of progress, but I knew there wasn't any. He did hang his pawn, and this would have been a pawn trade. And this is still a draw because I can sack my bishop on f2 anytime I need to. But there's no need to do that. So I just keep shuffling my bishop back and forth. And in this position, I offered him a draw again, and this time he accepted because, again, all I'm going to do is shuffle my bishop back and forth wherever it wants, and there's no way for him to kick my king out of e3 or do any sort of progress. So let's take a look at the game accuracy here. Despite my poor opening play and him having a dominating position for a lot of the game, we still played relatively well, me at 87.4 and him at 87.9. So I was very fortunate here to salvage draws, going back to when I was like -4, or when he was -4 or -5. Let's just go to like a sample position. Yeah, like, how would you guys expect me to survive this position? Like, from this position, I was facing this position as white, and we go all the way here. So that was quite a turnaround of events, and I'm very lucky to have not gotten mated or lost a significant amount of material in the opening. So yeah, he definitely misplayed it. I definitely misplayed it, but nonetheless, it was surprisingly a good game with 87 accuracy apiece. And yeah, it was just very fortunate. And I'm going to go ahead and say at this point, thank you guys for watching. If you like content like this, please don't forget to smash the subscribe button below. Leave a comment, let me know what you think. And until next time, have a great rest of your day or night. Bye.